Alrighty. And here we are again with another installment of Talks with 1029. And we have today for you Eva X. How we doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Well, not too bad. So let's jump right into it. We had some technical gremlins in the beginning there. I think we've ironed those guys out. So my first question is, when did you start making music?
So I started out in a couple of different bands about, probably about 12 years ago now, playing around my hometown of Calgary. In 2018, I started producing and writing my own tracks for what would eventually become Eva X. And the first music for Eva X came out in 2019. So It's been about 5 years now.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. So in your own words, for folks that have never heard you before, how would you describe Eva X, like the sound and the feel behind it?
So generally I shorthand to industrial pop. I think a lot of what we're putting out into the world these days maybe falls closer to what I describe as colorful industrial metal. Like there's a lot of heavy metal underpinnings and sensibilities there, but it tends to be overall a poppier, brighter sound than, say, your typical like Ministry or comparable.
Right.
Probably most similar to the Birthday Massacre.
Okay, gotcha. Alrighty. So my next question is, knowing I believe your real name is Gabrielle, or is it Gaby?
Yeah, Gabrielle, yeah.
Gabrielle. Where does the band name come from, Eva X?
So I was playing with a whole bunch of different names and ideas, stuff from, creation myths and computing, because I had a very different direction initially when I was futzing with names. Ended up combining like Ada Lovelace, the first known computer program, first person who wrote what we would describe as a computer program, the set of machine instructions. Eve got Eva, and it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I stuck an X on it because it looked cool.
Gotcha. Right on. Cool. So nice origin story there. That's got some nice deep meaning to it. So maybe this will kind of dovetail into this next question. Where do you find inspiration to make music from?
All over the place. Some of it, sometimes I pull from my own stories. Sometimes I pull from other stories, from media, things you read, things you play. I have a couple of songs we're working on for the upcoming album inspired by, say, video game and fiction characters, and taking a lot of the sounds I like and bringing them into my own sphere of influence. So much like the band name, it's kind of a garble of things that spark joy for me, things that spark meaning, and then things that just look and sound cool.
All righty. Fair, honest answer. All right. So my next question here is, and I can see this kind of a little bit from your background, do you guys have a home studio, and what is your creation process like?
We do have a home studio, and amusingly, Eric and I actually have his and hers home studios. So we each have kind of a room of our own for creation and for our music work. So I've got my space here where I work on creating tracks. That is the mic on which I do all my vocals. It's hanging over my shoulder there. I've been working mostly in the box for several years. I was kind of moving around a bunch during COVID. So hardware was just not practical.
Right.
So my whole studio system just fits kind of right here. To my right here is my mixing desk and that. And then Eric's got a space as well where he does a lot of the final mixing and getting tracks over the finish line.
Gotcha. Alrighty. And then you mentioned Eric. What does Eric do with Eva X?
So he does live guitars. As you know, sometimes he pitches in on the back end and helps me book and run some of the touring stuff off the side of my desk.
Yep.
He also does, he does what I would describe as additional production.
Okay.
I generate the ideas, write the music, write the lyrics, and do the initial mixing and sound design. He often comes in he does the final mix, bringing everything forward and polished across the finish line. And he'll often, like if I'm stuck on something, I'll grab him, we'll bounce ideas off each other. So he's he's very much like, he doesn't have a super defined role, but also I could not do this as much as we do in Eva X without him.
Gotcha. Very much like my own wife. We are a partner team, and much like your situation, I have this studio room that I work from home out of, and then she has her own office that she works from home out of. So now with the creation process for the band, does it come to you very organically, or is it, okay, on Thursdays we sit down from 3 to 5 and we try and hammer some ideas out? Is there any kind of a structure, or is it just, hey, you know what, I got a great idea for a song, I'm going to go in and play around?
My philosophy is some words, most days. So I generally, for anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, take some time, whether in the studio or with the notebook, to work on pushing a mix forward, work on the writing side. The best stuff for me tends to start with a hook, and then I'll start building the song around that, trying different ideas and different structures until I get the stuff that I know is really stuck in my head and really is going to have that audience impact.
Gotcha.
And that's one of the places where Eric often comes in the writing process, because I know when he comes in saying, I cannot stop thinking about this particular track or this moment, I'm like, I have it.
Yep. There you go. Yep. When you find that catchy thing, yep. There you go. So moving on to the questions that I've got laid out before us for today. You guys have done a bunch of touring, from looking you guys up online, and can you share with us a memorable tour moment, good or bad, that you've experienced while you've been on the road?
I'll keep it. Yeah, actually, we'll pick both. We were lucky enough to play Dark Forest Fest for the first time earlier in April. And on the bad side, unfortunately, it was one of those worst nightmares. We got into the fest the day before, and I'm getting off and like, I do not feel well.
Oh.
I feel so sick. We didn't even go to the festival Saturday night. I went to the hotel room and slept about 14 hours.
Oh.
And then I woke up on Sunday. It's like, I'm not better. But we went all this way. So a lot of tea and a few halls later, we made it up onto the stage. And as soon as we got there and started playing, the energy of the crowd just carried us along. We made it
cool
through, we just had that amazing, that connection, and that sort of, I'm really struggling with describe. That's sort of back and forth with the crowd. That's a really cool moment when you get everyone creating the experience together.
Yeah. There's an energy share that happens. Definitely. Yeah.
There's a huge energy share. And when you get that on tour, it's really magical.
Awesome. Cool. So that's a good and a bad experience that you had. Okay. Gotcha. So let's see, how do we want to frame this one? So what is one of the biggest challenges that you faced as a goth industrial band, and has that challenge taught you a lesson that you could pass on to, say, a new starting band that's just getting, their stuff together and putting things out? Do you have tips from pro? Anything that be like, whoa, don't ever do this, or anything like that?
I mean, I definitely talk a bit about specific processes. I have sat down with a few younger Canadian artists to talk about things like playing in the States, booking, and of course I have to do that aggravating P2 visa process. So, a lot of back end stuff that I could definitely talk about. But speaking more universally, I think the biggest challenge that we've encountered in Eva X is really finding that true, authentic voice, not feeling like we have to fit into a certain box of goth or pop or dark wave.
Right.
And being that kind of authentic, I don't know. I keep bouncing around terms for it. Candy industrial, that colorful industrial pop phenomenon, where it has that grounding in metal. I come from heavy metal, actually. got the finished metal shirts going right now.
There you go. They're nice.
And
I got my
bringing
Combi Christ shirt on, and on the back it says I listened to Combi Christ before they were metal. So I had to get it because of that, you know.
Yeah. And kind of bringing that full suite of influences and range to the music. And I think we're finding our footing with that. And that's been really, really exciting.
Right
So
on.
if I had one piece of advice for an up and coming artist, it would be, don't worry so much about what's cool or what's in or what other people are doing. Find what speaks to you and present that the best you can. Do the best you can by the inspiration and by the work.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, the music that's coming out nowadays, because I DJ predominantly, is the big thing that I have to do with the music industry, that and booking shows and stuff. But being a DJ, you see so many different genres that are laid out in front of you, and there's new ones every single day. It's like a giant mix and match game. Like, I don't know if you remember, like those fashion plates. Like, you could like put a shirt on and a pair of pants on and a different hat. And it feels like that's what folks are doing with, different genres of music. And it's interesting to see all of these different influences happening. So I think it's great advice that, don't pigeonhole yourself into one specific genre. I think it's a great piece of advice, and just you will come up with your own sound. And I think other people will figure out what you are. They'll put a label on you later, for greatness or for ill, whatever. So moving along, you said that you've been doing this for about 5 years with Eva X, if I remember correctly, and you have some history with doing some metal bands and things like that, and you guys have toured. So during that experience, during that time frame, how have you seen the business change? And what I mean by that question is, when I was younger, you would go out and see a show, and it was very important that you bought the shirt, you bought the CD, you bought the tape, you bought the vinyl, whatever it was, the sticker, the patch, the pin, because that money went to the bands. That really helped keep them on the road. That was what they saw 100% of the money for. Whereas if they were signed with a record label, something along the lines of that, they were getting a very small portion of any kind of royalties on the music that they put out, because they had this giant guarantee that the record company put out and said, okay, you got to work this off now. So have you seen that change now with everybody self-producing? People are putting out their own albums now. The record labels are starting to become a thing of the past. Have you had any experience seeing that change over the time that you've been doing music?
That is a great question. So, like I said, it's been about 5 years. It's also only been about 5 years. And I think, and Eva X really didn't start finding its stride till probably about 2021.
Okay.
So I think we're still kind of grappling with what all has changed and where. I'm on a label in the scene, Distortion Productions. Our situation is definitely a lot fairer than a lot of the trad scenes you see of the early 80s.
Yep.
And maybe 90s. I'm probably dating this wrong. But
we're goths, we're ageless.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that I do think is the challenge of doing it all yourself is you are doing it all yourself, not just the creative aspects,
right,
but the business, the booking, the management, the promotions, the getting everything up on streaming, the track, there's a million little things. And I will say, I really, really appreciate my current setup with Distortion. It takes some big chunks of that off my plate. The distribution, the CD printing, and that's, Jim gets a very reasonable share of that. He also does some of the pushing the music. I do all the booking in that myself. It's not exactly the full service staff setup of the past, but it's also an agreement that everyone came into with a lot of real clarity and upfrontness about how it was going to go, and it's been really, really good for us.
Cool. So you said Distortion is the label?
Distortion Productions, yes.
All righty, cool. I'll pass that along to some friends of mine. Because you're one of the very few instances where I've had people say good things about their label, unfortunately. So the next question that I have for you is, you just put out a single called Fiction, and we have digital downloads that we gave away actually at the last Club Nevermore last Saturday. People were really excited about that. What are your future plans for more music from Eva X? Is there an album coming out, or what do we expect?
So there's definitely an album coming. Dopamine Blind, Fiction, and a few other things we are working on are all building up to an album too. My hope had been to get that out by the end of 2024. I think that schedule is probably going to slip a little, but we're making some great progress. I'm probably going to be working on some of the writing for that actually on the downtime on these shows in Texas.
Cool.
And I'm really, really excited for people to hear some of the stuff that we're finishing up.
Right on. Cool. All right. So some stuff to look forward to. Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to have a myriad of experiences to draw from on the tour, driving around and having things happen. So, yeah. So the next thing, and one of the most important things of this interview, aside from getting to know you as the artist, is where do folks find out about Eva X, when that new album's coming out, where they can catch you on tour, where they can buy your music and your merch and things like that? What are some of the good resources online to catch you?
So the best socials to find me on are generally Instagram. I'm very millennial like that. Eva_X.exe. That's the most regularly updated. I'm also on Facebook threads and TikTok. And I have a website, eva-x.band, that is up to date with our latest tour dates and all that information as well. And you can actually just go on there and click the shop link on that site, and it'll take you to my Bandcamp.
Okay. I was going to say, you probably have Bandcamp too. Yep. Everybody's got Bandcamp these days.
The physical merch is a little barren right now because the fulfillment center has been on the road.
Gotcha. Yep.
But we'll be ramping that back up in the fall. And if you're coming to see us in Little Rock, we're going to have an army of shirts, CDs, all of our stickers, buttons, and posters, and all that great stuff. So definitely stop by and buy something, because that still puts gas in my tank.
Yep. All righty. And good segue there. Your next show in this neck of the woods is going to be Sunday, July 21st. It'll be over at Sticky's. It's a great place with some great food, and the sound guy is kind of legendary. He's one of the best sound guys in the area, from what I understand and from what I've heard when I've seen bands there. So I'm anticipating a great show. And you guys obviously are going to be there with the high energy headliner show that you guys always bring from the video footage I've seen, sick or not. And then you're bringing Shadow Fashion with you guys.
Yes.
I'll be speaking with them also. How did that come to play? How did you guys get tied together to do a tour?
So Patrick is also in Eric's band, Adoration Destroyed.
Okay.
And when we looked at doing the tour with Morris Black and Danny Blue this past summer, Eric and I realized we were going to need a third person who was able to come through us on the States for this run. And we didn't need too much thinking to arrive at Patrick. He's great. He's pro. And he's been a part of the live Fabric Rex whenever we can bring him along ever since.
Cool.
So
right.
We were coming to Texas. Bringing Shadow Fashion along was just an absolute no-brainer.
Yep. And they're out of San Antonio, is that correct?
Yes, they are.
Yep. Cool. All righty. So we've gone through all of the things that I had laid out for this interview today. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about, or any questions that you have for our listeners, or stuff that you want them to know about?
Yeah, I'm just so excited to be coming back to Little Rock and playing. It's funny, we passed through actually just as we were heading out for the American Dream Tour last year. And I'm sitting there with the map. Like my US geography knowledge is solid, but I'm from Canada. It's sometimes a little mid. I'm like, okay, 7.5 hours from Austin to here. Fine, that's a stopover point.
Yeah.
And then we drive up like, wow, this is really cute. We
Yeah.
actually had a super great first night, kind of getting in the rhythm of the road and getting to know each other in Little Rock. So I'm actually really excited to be coming back.
Cool. Cool. All righty. And um, you guys are playing Dallas on Friday, correct?
Yes.
And then is there a travel day on Saturday?
Yeah, there's a travel day.
Travel day Saturday, and then Sunday will be here with us at Little Rock.
Yep.
And then I know there was a couple more dates after that. Go ahead and plug the other dates that you've got going on after Little Rock.
Absolutely. So Wednesday the 24th, we're in San Antonio, and Spank the Nun's going to be joining Shadow Fashion and us for this part for the Texas dates.
Cool.
And Thursday the 25th, Austin at Elysium. Friday the 26th, we're going to be in Houston. It'll actually be my first time there as well. And that'll be at Black Magic Social Club.
Okay. All right.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really hoping everywhere has air conditioning.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. That is a necessity down here for sure.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, it has been great to meet you. I look forward to meeting you on Sunday. As you guys may have heard, I will be the opening DJ for the evening, DJ 1029, to get the crowd pumped and excited for the show later on in the evening. So come down anytime after 7 o'clock. Officially, we open at 8 o'clock. First band will go on about 8:45. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great show. And, support your local bat colony, as I like to tell folks. And thank you very much for sitting down and doing this interview with me today.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. Also, I keep hearing about this thing y'all have called cheese dip.
Cheese dip. Yes. I'm trying to remember if I think they have some pretty good cheese dip at Sticky's, actually.
All right.
It's kind of known for having great wings. It's called Sticky's Rock and Roll Chicken Shack. So, it's pretty good food, but yeah, we will definitely take care of you there. And introduce you to American cheese dip.
Excellent. I don't think I've ever had that before, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
All righty. Well, thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you on Sunday, July 21st at Sticky's here in Little Rock, Arkansas. This has been another episode of Talks with 1029. I'm your host, DJ 1029, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You bet. Thank you so much for having me.